Hello and welcome back to another certified OG chefing video. The Chevrolet Corvette has been a legendary car in the automotive industry since many years for now. This did not change with the latest model, the Corvette C8. There have been some major design changes compared to the older brothers and sisters, but there's one question that we're going to answer in today's video. Is the Corvette C8 a true supercar that can compete with the European counterparts? We're going to find out today, so sit back, relax and enjoy.
Yeah, and well, I am honestly a bit excited because today we can show you this, the Corvette C8. We have this possibility to test this car today because of Peicher US Cars here in Austria and also Hidden Sports Cars. They were kind enough to give us this car and they said we can literally test it and we can do whatever we want with it. You could probably know where this is going. Anyway, this is the new Corvette C8. Pretty much the newest version of the C6 that we tested a few weeks ago. And as you can see, this is very modern. A very modern version of the Corvette. And it's also the first time ever that you have the engine sitting behind the driver. Under this cover here we have the V8, it's the LT2, so it's a new development of the LS engine, which we all know and love. I've heard that these engines are absolutely amazing and you can boost them pretty easily, so these cars make a lot of power with the boost. Currently I think this car has around 500 horsepower, which should be more than enough for today's weather conditions. Also the first time ever that a Corvette actually looks reasonably modern on the inside. The interior of this car is honestly very sick. It's a bit confusing at first. Honestly, I'm very interested to see how this car will handle, because so far from what I've heard on the internet, this is supposed to be one of the best modern driving cars. It's supposed to be like an entry-level sports car, so we're gonna see just how well this is. I kind of have a feeling this is like gonna be like the new R8, because they discontinued the R8, so this is now trying to take over its place. You can actually buy them for the first time ever in Europe. You don't have to import them from America, which is pretty cool. So this is the European market C8. You can buy it exactly as it is right here in Europe without any issues. It's a bit different than the US version. Obviously, it's a lot quieter than the US version, sadly, but there's ways you can change that pretty easily. Anyway, I think the styling of the car is pretty cool, especially from the front. It looks very aggressive. I think blue is probably not the best color for the car. I think the car is more of a car that you would probably spec in like black or something. Mani already said it. Black would suit this car really well. Obviously with the engine being in the back, you now have a lot of space here. Yeah, a lot of space is maybe a bit exaggerated. You have space in the front for stuff to put in. Pretty nice, and it's soft close.
Ah, this is nice.
Also pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then if you come around the back, well, I think the wheels are not so cool. I think this car honestly needs to be lowered, full wheels, and needs to be black, and it's a stunning car. In the rear, you have a little bit of more space. This is also pretty cool because obviously the engine being over here, I don't know if you can see the engine, but this here is pretty sick. You have even more luggage space. So this car can actually be a pretty good road trip car, I think. And you're gonna see it later. It's actually very comfortable to drive. Transformer-Modus, Alter. Yeah, you can order them in two versions. You can have the full and convertible, which this one is, and you can have the Targa, which every Corvette normally is a Targa. We can just take a small portion of the roof off. This is gonna be perfect for today's weather, I think. Okay, let's listen to the exhaust really quick. Very surprising car. Definitely never expected something like this from America. And if you compare it to European cars, it is actually very cheap. I think this car does have the potential, like I already said, to be a very good entry-level sports car. We're gonna jump in the car really quick. I'm gonna show you the interior because it is absolutely beautiful to see. And then we're gonna give you the first driving impressions. And we're also gonna obviously test this car to its full potential, which I think in today's weather is gonna be quite fun. All right, first of all, before we start, and with this, we are ready to go. Really quick here in the interior, because I told you guys I'm going to show you. From the driver's perspective, it looks very cool. Very similar to the Supra, actually, to the Mark IV Supra. You have like this fighter jet cockpit style with all these buttons over here. This is actually very confusing at first because this section here I think is for the drivers and this here is for the passenger. This here shift all the drive modes on the car. You have some very funky animation all the time. Tour mode.
This is sick.
The animations are cool, yeah, wie ein Videospiel. Sport mode, it looks like Forza Horizon, honestly. Yeah. You have a bunch of other like little features. You obviously have your cameras. Very cool display, honestly. I like the setup. This display is also pretty sick. Obviously you have a ref limiter and everything. I like the color inside. Blue looks absolutely cool. It would be sick outside to have it like black and blue inside or like red inside. Speakers, you have both performance series. So I honestly think that this car, the quality in the interior of this car is actually really good. Especially if you compare it to like old Corvette models, because the C6 which we tested honestly was not really the nicest car on the inside. But this does really feel like a luxury car from the inside. as well with the stitching. Everything here is leather, so you don't have any plastic parts whatsoever. Alcantara headliner. So honestly, this car is spec-wise and inside, it's very good. But we're not here for that. We're here to see how it drives. So let's get driving, and I'm gonna show you guys what this car can actually do. Yeah, we've been sitting in this car for quite some time now, and I have to say, similar to the C6 Corvette, this car is actually very comfortable to cruise and just to like drive along. The seats are pretty nice. They're a bit more on the harder side, and they're definitely better than in the C6 Corvette, because the C6 there was like, just like complete garden chairs or lawn chairs or something like that. It felt like you were sitting in a couch or a sofa. These are a bit more sporty. It feels more like you're sitting in a proper sports car at least. Interior, like I said, I think it's very nice. The steering wheel is going to be pretty interesting to see how it will handle once the car breaks loose, because it's very asymmetric. One thing that Mani pointed out, which I also find very interesting, obviously this car is called the C8 Stingray, and everything inside here reminds you of a Stingray. These fins over here kind of looks like, the car looks from the outside like you're sitting in a Stingray, and also from the inside it feels like you're literally inside a Stingray. I know, it's kind of like an interesting feature, and something that you've never seen before in other cars, I think. But yeah, daily cruising capability, this car definitely is pretty high up, so I think this car, you can daily drive it pretty easily. It's very nice driving, suspension feels very good, so this car is definitely a car that you can drive every day if you wanted to. Fuel economy, probably not the best, but apart from that, everything else seems to be good. You can connect your phone, everything seems to work pretty good. It's very focused on the driver, which for a driver's perspective it's pretty cool. For a passenger maybe not so, but who cares about the passengers anyway. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Let's get going to test this car properly. The car already broke loose quite some times without me even trying, so I think we're going to have a pretty interesting time. Alright, let's try to answer the most important question of it all. Is this car a true supercar, or is it just another scam? Let's put it into track mode, because we are obviously driving on the racetrack. Then we turn off the traction control, and now we have everything that we need to know, I guess. Alter, das ist voll viel Grip. Hier, das ist die Radler jetzt voll durch.
Ja, ja. Aber jetzt ist er gescheit laut.
Alter, warum hat das so viel Grip? Es ist voll das, was so der Scheiß. Ah, okay, jetzt haben wir. Okay, the car sounds sick.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's actually been a pretty long time since I drove a rear engine car. Last time I think was with the R8. Obviously it's a bit more sketchy to drift than normal. Okay, I'm actually really surprised how much grip this thing has. We have semi-slicks on and it's wet outside, really wet. Suspension is good. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of the steering wheel for drifting. It's a bit sketchy. Gearbox is really fast. First gear could be a bit longer, I think. For the power. It's very sketchy to slide this car, to be honest, because of the steering wheel. And you don't really have much input on the steering wheel, I think. So it's a bit hard for me to predict how the tires are facing and everything. Yeah, steering wheel could be a bit
Rounder.
a bit rounder, yeah. But apart from that, it's not, obviously not so nice to slide like the F80. it is a very, very fast car. On a racetrack, I think you can actually do really, really good times with this car. The only thing I really don't like is the steering. It feels like the car doesn't want to be steered for some reason. I have to fight it to steer it. I don't know, it feels very strange. Alright, time for some POV action for you guys. Obviously it's not meant to be driven sideways and I'm doing kind of the wrong thing to it, but that's just, you know, how I operate. It works really well sideways, that's one thing. The differential opens up after some time though. That's something that I'm not a big fan of. I'm gonna show you guys. And like I already said, the steering inputs or like the steering feel is a bit off in my opinion. So first gear. First gear to get the car sideways, then you shift it to second, and then the differential kind of opens up. I think the car doesn't have... It has so much grip, even in these conditions. It feels like a car that everybody could easily drive without needing to know necessarily how to drive fast, because it's pretty easy to drive. It doesn't want to bite you, it's just not really made for sliding, I guess. I guess that's why so many rental companies in Miami use these C8s, because they're just so easy to drive. Because the car has so much grip, which is interesting. Just lacks the power. If you shift it into second, because the tires have so much grip, or like the car has so much mechanical grip. Bro, I think you could honestly give this car to some person who's never driven a car before and he's gonna set up some pretty good lap times on any racetrack in the world. Because it's actually so nice to drive and so easy. And just really doesn't go sideways at all. So much traction because I think it kind of opens up a little bit. This car is not meant for sliding, this car is just meant to go fast. I also have to say though, it's not nice to drift this car. It feels a bit scary. You have to drive it a bit. I think I'm slowly getting the hang of it. Because you have to push it pretty hard in second gear. I'm not used to having to, you know, give it so much gas once the car goes sideways. Since this thing is just fighting not to go sideways, you have to force it a bit more. Like here, I was not on the gas 100%, so that's why it didn't want to fully. Yeah. I think I have it now. I have to say, for me, the C6 was way more fun to drive, or to drift, let's say like this. And this just feels fast, it feels easy to drive, it's very cool. I think it sounds good, at least from the inside. I think from the outside it's gonna be a bit quiet, but that's just due to lovely EU regulations. I'm a fan, but if it would make me choose, I would choose the C6. It does really feel like a proper supercar though, driving wise, because of all the grip. I'm actually, I said it a million times, but I'm so surprised still how well this thing just keeps it without breaking loose. Test out the theory, because up here you can see what the differential is doing, which is actually really cool that the car shows you. Now we can see. 55% Maximum.
Ja.
87, 90. I think the differential needs to lock more for the car to go more sideways. Was ist das?
Was ist das?
It needs to be 100% and then the car will go sideways, I think. At least more sideways than it is right now. Now it feels like a mix between driving with an open differential and driving with a locked differential. Because in some corners it just fully whips out, like here. This car is just set up to be fast, nothing else. And honestly, it makes me a bit scared sliding the car, because it makes the car a bit more unpredictable. And as you guys know from my other videos, an unpredictable car is never nice to slide. It makes me happy while driving, but it also makes me want to push the car more to make it properly break out, you know? Alright, we're gonna try this last one here again. By the way, I'm sorry that I always focus so much about like differential stuff and like the way how it drifts, but that's just for me the most fun part, you know? Thing where we gotta try, just for the feeling. Okay. Okay, nice. Let's see. Bro, it's been such a long time since I last drove something without a roof. Wow. It feels nice without the roof. Also seems to slide better for some reason now. It's snowing outside. It's so crazy. Cabrio is so cool.
Das ist saugeil.
I have to say, taking the roof off was probably the best idea. This one here is easy. Yeah. Not the best. I'll take it though. Alright. Perfect. Very nice. Yeah. Corvette C8, what do I have to say? Is it a supercar? Honestly, probably not. I don't think it has the full potential to be a supercar. It's a very quick car, a very fun car to drive. But to be honest, I think this is more of a sports car, of a really, really good sports car than a supercar. There's a few things missing to make it a supercar in my opinion. First of all, I don't think it is special enough. Here in Europe maybe, but in the US you do see them quite often. And a supercar for me is a car that it's like kind of rare to see and everything. And I think this car could use a little bit more power and a bit more of a tune to make it a bit more like scary to drive in my opinion. Because I think supercars, they need to be a bit, you have to be respectful with them in order to not, you know, die or whatever. I think you can compare it really well to the R8. The R8 is also really easy to drive. And I think the Corvette is pretty similar from the driving experience wise. You can sit somebody in there that's never driven a car before and they will very likely drive the car without injuring themselves without crashing because it's just so easy to drive. And that's also the reason why I think it's not a supercar. I think performance-wise, the car is really, really good. Maybe a bit more power would be needed to make it a proper supercar, but I think the car is just too easy to drive to really make it stand out, which is not a bad thing, you know. Just answering the question if it's a supercar or not. I think the car is really, really good. I like it. I think you can be really, really fast with it on a racetrack. I think this car is gonna be probably one of the fastest cars for this price that you can buy currently. And if you want to have a supercar, or if you want to have more power, more thrill, there's two more versions of the C8 that you can buy, which is the Z06 and the CR1, which they just unveiled. I think these cars, they have the potential to be something great. Fortunately, I haven't gotten the chance to test them, but yeah, now at least we have the base C8 ticked off. Yeah, compared to the C6 we tested, I honestly like the C6 a bit more, although the C6 is way harder to drive and it's also not as fast as the C8, obviously, but the C6 was just a bit more dramatic, honestly. Yeah, more emotions. But that's just with every new car, you know, it's not Corvette's fault. Probably have to blame the EU or whatever for that once again. I would say solid 7 out of 10. 3 points minus because it has room for more. And I mean, we know that it has room for more because there's two more better versions of this car out. But overall, I enjoyed driving it. It was a great experience. Thanks again for Peicher for letting me test this car. If you have any US car related stuff here in Austria,
Hit him up.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you again very, very soon. Corvette boy signing out. Midlife crisis boy.